Largo High School's Chamber Choir, fantastic. Thank you all so much. That was outstanding. And thank you, Mr. Azari. The beautiful performance. And now I would like to introduce our Public Information Officer, Isabella Mascarenas, who will introduce our professional and community organizations who are with us this morning. There she is.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Hendrick, and staff. It is my pleasure to introduce the following representatives of community and professional organizations. From the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, Nancy Velarde, President. From representing the League of Women Voters, Jean Reynolds. From the Pinellas Arts for a Complete Education Coalition, Maria Cantones. Today, we have a presentation from the Student Rights and Responsibility Committee. Please welcome Elise Tong from Largo High School and her principal, Jennifer Staten.
Welcome.
Great. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Elise Tong from Largo High School, and I am a senior as well as a Students' Rights and Responsibilities member. So I will begin my presentation. So I am in the IB program at Largo High, and there are actually a couple of reasons why I chose to do IB. One of them is that my brother was actually in the IB program at St. Pete High before Largo had an IB program. And he did very well there, and his teachers were incredibly supportive and very good at what they did. And he actually went to Columbia, and so that leads into my second reason for joining the IB program, which is just for the academic rigor that IB provides that other programs won't necessarily do. And there's also this twist between the humanities and STEM portions of learning. And throughout the IB program, we learned that all of these subjects are all interconnected. And I feel like that is a very important aspect of our community today, because one aspect of life that a lot of people emphasize are the STEM areas, because we believe that we need scientists, technologists, engineers, mathematicians in order to build a community. But we also need aspects from the humanities, like all of the diplomats, all of the politicians. And so I feel like IB provides a very strong guidance to branch all of these areas of, well, learning together. And so a little bit more about me is that, well, a lot of people say that the IB program doesn't give you a lot of time to do other things, but that is something I disagree with, because if you have strong time management skills, you can honestly join a lot of different extracurricular activities. So I'm actually involved in our school's academic team, which we have had a pretty good track record this year. We've gotten an impressive record of 20-1 wins, so proud of us for that. And I'm also involved in Science Olympiad. I've actually led our team to first place in the region, and so we've qualified for the state tournament, which is also exciting. And then I'm the vice president of the National Honor Society, as well as president of Future Business Leaders of America. So there are so many different opportunities that Largo High as a whole has provided to all of its students. And so I would like to also highlight a few Largo High 2023 points of pride. So in athletics, for football, we actually have the regional finals, and we've won 2 games from the state championship. And then for basketball, we've reached the regional quarterfinals. For boys soccer, we reached regional quarterfinals. And then our girls tennis team is currently undefeated. And we also began our girls lacrosse team this year, and over 35 girls have taken a chance on a sport that they've never even played before. In the sports area, the arts areas, our theater spring musical was nominated for 4 Broadway Star of the Future awards, and our color guard has placed first in the Braden River Regional competition over spring break, beating the second place team by 3 full points. And for academics, we have our academic team finishing with an impressive record of 20-1. We have a new scholarship partnership with the Fiesel family, bringing in over $30,000 in scholarships for only Largo High seniors, which has just been an incredible opportunity for us all. And then 32% of our juniors and seniors are eligible for our National Honor Society, which does a large amount of things such as nature cleanups for our parks around our community, as well as tutoring for students within our programs, and blood drives with OneDrive should just help further our healthcare purposes. And then 50% of our juniors and seniors have a 3.0 GPA or higher. And we are also introducing a leader and learner pathways for next school year. And we're especially excited to introduce a new sports and event marketing pathway, which sounds really interesting, and I'm sad I'm going to miss it. And our History Bowl team has made it to nationals and will be traveling to Washington, D.C. to compete this summer. And that is all that I have. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Some wonderful. Thank you for that very informative presentation, and also thank you to Principal Staton for joining us this morning. Thank you very much. We learned a lot. Mr. Hendrick, are there any recommended amendments to our agenda this morning?
There are not.
There are not. Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda? I have a motion by Mrs. Long and a second by Mrs. Cook. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously, 7-0. That we will begin our special order of agenda. May I have a motion to approve item 4.1, proclamation designating April 2023 as National Autism Acceptance Month. I have a motion to approve by Ms. Meyer. Second. Second by Ms. Edmond. And Mr. Hendrick, could you please introduce the item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We're excited to honor our students with autism today, and I want to call up Amy Fichter, our ESC specialist, and she has a couple guests with her as we make this presentation. Ms. Fichter?
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, and staff. Thank you for considering the proclamation for Autism Awareness Month. My name is Amy Fichter, and I'm an ESC specialist, and I have my wonderful colleague here with me today.
Good morning. My name is Allie Kay. I'm the lead behavior analyst for ESE, and we're joined by Gabriel Thomas this morning, who's one of our extended transition interns.
Thank you, Allie. So April has been recognized as Autism Awareness Month since the 1970s. An important shift has been made to recognize April as Autism Acceptance Month. While awareness focuses on understanding that autistic people exist, acceptance affirms that autistic people belong. Acceptance is an action. This encourages us to change the way we think about autism and how we support individuals on the autism spectrum. Autism requires us to move away from conversations about preventing or curing autism and towards conversations about inclusion. For years, educators, psychologists, behavior analysts, and others have deemed themselves as autism experts. However, the real experts are those with lived experiences. As we enter Autism Acceptance Month, it is imperative that we listen to and learn from the voices of actual autistic individuals, while recognizing the vast range of support needs and unique experiences of the students we serve.
Pinellas County Schools is committed to meeting the unique needs of all learners. The district serves approximately 1,700 students identified on the autism spectrum. The District Behavior Services team continues to promote practical functional assessment and skill-based treatment to support a variety of learners across school sites. This initiative focuses on trauma-informed approaches to eliminate severe problem behavior while equipping students with the skills they need to be successful. In order to increase the number of students who receive these services, we have moved to a train-the-trainer model where behavior specialists and teachers at school sites receive training to implement and expand services to reach as many learners as possible. Pinellas is the first public school district in Florida to implement this model. In an attempt to amplify autistic voices, several of our extended transition students were asked what they would like people to know about autism and what autism acceptance means to them. Some of them, including Gabriel, are present with us today. These were some of their responses. Autistic people tend to do things normal people wouldn't do. We tend to have more sensitivities and tend to make little stories in our heads and verbalize them out loud. Autistic people may struggle to compose answers to open-ended questions. Autism acceptance means that when made aware of our autism, others would allow us to be included with the group and help us get the help that we need. Autism acceptance allows for creative freedom in all forms. We would like to be afforded the same opportunities as others, the ability to chase one's dreams, even if it seems impossible. We would like to prove to the world that we are more than the sum of our own parts. Whether you are on the highest end of the spectrum or the lowest, you are special just the way you are.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Fichtner and Ms. Kay. Mrs. Long, would you read the proclamation, please?
Autism Acceptance Month. Whereas autism is the fastest growing developmental disability in the United States, affecting more than 3 million people. And whereas autism is the result of a neurological disorder that affects the normal functioning of the human brain and can affect anyone. And whereas the effort to address autism continues, doctors, therapists, and educators can help persons with autism overcome or adjust to its challenges and provide early, accurate diagnosis and the resulting appropriate education, intervention, and therapy that are vital to the future growth and development. And whereas this effort will bring awareness to our schools, our community, and around the country of the honor to take part in the annual observance of Autism Acceptance Month and World Autism Acceptance Day, in the hope that it will lead to a better understanding of the disorder. Now, therefore, the School Board of Pinellas County does hereby recognize April 2023 as Autism Acceptance Month in Pinellas County Schools.
Is there any discussion by the board?
I have a comment.
Ms. Long?
I just want to say thank you for all you do. I was a special ed teacher, and I have a son who's on the spectrum. Pinellas County Schools did an incredible job helping him. He's working. He does want to go back to school, but we're not there yet. We're still have to mature a lot. But he's doing great, and he's made friends. He's been accepted. You know, there are no special autism communities. They live amongst us, and we need to be accepting and understanding and help these individuals, because really they'll surprise you out of nowhere. They're going to take off. And so I just say God bless you and thank you for all you do for our students.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. We have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Meyer and a second by Mrs. Edmond to approve item 4.1, proclamation designating April 2023 as National Autism Acceptance Month. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion to approve item 4.1 has passed 7-0. Next, may I please have a motion to approve item 4.2, proclamation designating April 2023 as National Occupational Therapy Month.
Move approval.
I move for approval by Ms. Cook.
Second.
And a second by Ms. Hine. Mr. Hendrick, could you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to call Jody Becker, our Coordinator of Occupational Therapy, to present this proclamation for the month.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, staff, and community members. I'm here this morning to acknowledge April as National Occupational Therapy Month, sponsored by the American Occupational Therapy Association. Occupational therapy is a science-driven, evidence-based profession that enables people of all ages to participate in daily living or to live better with injury, illness, or disability. For our students with special needs, occupational therapy entails everyday basic routines like getting dressed, organizing a backpack, holding a pencil, writing and copying notes, and throwing and catching a ball. Through a holistic approach to assessments and interventions, our occupational therapy staff teach our students how to adapt to their individual circumstances and promote successful outcomes at school and beyond. Being a student and being able to play are a child's occupations. OTs find creative ways to incorporate function into play for our younger students, finding fun ways to help them find themselves, not catering to what is inhibiting them, but rather what is strengthening them. Our occupational therapy staff use a functional, real-life approach to their therapy, focusing on the tasks a child needs to perform to be successful as a student. Research shows that using real-life situations creates better change on a neurological level. We see more improvement when we use a person's occupation in our therapy. In addition to helping our students be successful, our OT staff continually educate and train both staff and parents on the benefits of movement and appropriate sensory input and the impact they can have on brain function and learning. We teach them how to incorporate this into their classrooms and their homes to be sure the students' opportunities for growth and improvement are that much greater. Pinellas County Schools' 61 occupational therapists and therapist assistants are a group of dynamic, hardworking, and dedicated therapists. They demonstrate the core values of commitment to children, families, and the community, responsibility, and connectedness in the work they do each and every day. I am proud as their coordinator and as an occupational therapist myself to represent and recognize our occupational therapy staff for their dedication and hard work on behalf of Pinellas County Schools students. And I want to thank you for taking the time to recognize them today.
Thank you, Ms. Becker. Ms. Cook, could you please read the proclamation?
Love to. A proclamation for National Occupational Therapy Month. Whereas the Pinellas County School Board of Pinellas County, Florida, encourages options for an active and healthy lifestyle. And whereas the Pinellas County School Board speaks for the best interest of the public in recommending occupational therapy by a licensed occupational therapist to improve fine motor, visual motor, and daily living skills to access curriculum. And whereas through the national effort, the Pinellas County School Board and community members are encouraged to join together to raise awareness of the importance of occupational therapy during the month of April 2023. And whereas this effort will bring awareness to the schools, community, and around the country of the roles of the occupational therapists in school. Now, therefore, the School Board of Pinellas County does hereby recognize April 2023 as National Occupational Therapy Month in Pinellas County Schools. Signed the 21st day of March 2023.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion by the board? No. We have a motion on the floor by Ms. Cook and a second by Mrs. Hine to approve item 4.2, proclamation designating April 2023 as National Occupational Therapy Month. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion approved 4.2 passes unanimously 7-0. Thank you very much, Ms. Beck.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We are going to move to number 5, public comments on agenda items. Members of the public have 3 separate opportunities to address the board when we gather for a business meeting. The first is public comment on agenda items. The second is at public hearings, most of which are policies. And the last is after our meeting when speakers may address the general business of the district. At each opportunity for public input, board members are here to listen to you. This is not a time for interaction, but the board will take your comments into consideration before it votes on agenda items. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in conducting our meetings. This includes refraining from clapping or making audible noises during or after a speaker's comments, with respect to their time. We appreciate you assisting us in maintaining a civil and constructive environment. Lastly, please note that this meeting and all public comments will be broadcast live on the internet and video will be publicly archived. Members of the public may always communicate with the board through our email address, board@pcsb.org, or by calling the board office at 588-6300. Thank you, Mrs. Houck. Are there any speakers to agenda items?
Yes, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, we have 2 speakers for agenda items. The first is Mark Clutho speaking to item 7.7, 7.8, and 7.9. And then we have Joyce Russell speaking to item 8.4.
Mark Clutho Largo, 7.7. Yeah, you have an architect involved with this roofing, paying him $96,000. Repairing the metal, existing metal flashing, repairing or replacing metal flashing, gutter straps, and replacing the downspouts, and recoating the flat roofs. And then you're going to apply this Trimco fluid applied roofing system. Now, why does an architect have to be involved? It's $1 million job, but at our house, we had a new roof put on with truss tie-downs. The roofing company did the job, didn't have an architect involved there. This is ridiculous. And $902,000 for construction management services at the locker rooms for Gibbs High School. Oh boy. And then the approval of substantial completion of the building at 74th Street Elementary School. You're saying that there isn't a financial impact? It's just beginning. It's a pre-engineered metal building. All wrong. Like this article says, want to phase out fossil fuels? We must fundamentally change our buildings. Well, guess what? You're not doing it. You're still making stupid buildings. And then, what do we have? Study climate change is worse than we thought. Well, you keep doing the stupid same things, you get the same result.
Thank you. Ms. Joyce Russell?
Good morning. My name is Joyce Russell. My address is 1032 Vista K Court, Brandon, Florida, 33511. I was born and raised in Clearwater, Florida, and graduated valedictorian from Pinellas High School in Clearwater in 1967. I'm here to speak to the proposed renaming of Clearwater Intermediate School, located at 1220 Palmetto Street, Clearwater, which was built in 1954 as a segregated high school for Black students living in northern Pinellas County. This was the same year the U.S. Supreme Court outlawed segregation in public schools. I am speaking on behalf of some attendees and graduates of Pinellas High School, as well as some teachers, staff, and community supporters, some of which are here today. Would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. On behalf of these citizens, we have chosen the name of Pinellas High Innovation as the name to replace Clearwater Intermediate. The high in the name does not refer to a school, but to the high achievement expected of each student. This name preserves some of the original name of the school and honors the rich legacy of excellence that was achieved by the school until its closing in 1968. Despite being underfunded, being given used furnishing and outdated books, Pinellas High School flourished, graduating some of this community's most outstanding citizens. Some notables include Justice Joseph Hatchett, first Black justice to serve on the Florida State Supreme Court. Harry Singletary, first Black to serve in the state cabinet as Secretary of Corrections. Ronald Bly, star football player who attended Notre Dame and went on to play for the New York Giants. And Donald Byrd, internationally renowned Tony Award nominee, master choreographer.
Thank you.
Are there any more speakers?
Madam Chair.
Risk legacy by renaming Clearwater Intermediate Pinellas High Innovation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, we have no other speakers.
That we also have no items under unfinished business. We're going to move on to number 7, the consent agenda. May I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt.
I have a motion by Ms. Long, a second by Ms. Cook. All those in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Passes 7-0. That we're going to go on to the non-consent. May I have a motion to approve item 8.1, request approval for the renewal charter school agreement with Enterprise Charter High School for a 5-year period effective July 1st, 2023 through July 30th, 2028. A motion for approval by Ms. Hines and a second by Ms. Edmond. Mr. Hendrick, could you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calling up Amy Hayes, our Director of Charter and Homeschool Education, who also presented this information at a recent workshop to share this information.
Good morning, and thank you very much. Enterprise Charter High School is an educational alternative high school serving students grades 9 through 12 who are at risk in their credits required for graduation. Enterprise opened and has operated in Pinellas County since 2008. Their current contract expires June 30th, 2023. Enterprise submitted its renewal application for a 5-year renewal term. That renewal process and application reviews 3 main areas of the school's operations. Those include academic accountability, organizational viability and compliance, and the financial health and sustainability of the school. Based on a thorough review of this application, a history of academic success, strong governance and compliance, and the positive financial position of the school, we are recommending the 5-year renewal for Enterprise High School.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Is there any discussion from the board? Ms. Hine?
I just wanted to say thank you. Over the couple of years, as I've heard from you and read the different research and documents that you provide, it's very thorough, and I was very impressed with this school in particular and the work that they do for the population that they do it for. So we do have some excellent partners in education, and this is one of them. So thank you, Ms. Hayes.
Thank you.
Very much. Seeing no other discussion, we have a motion on the floor by Ms. Hine and a second by Ms. Edmond to approve item 8.1, the approval of the renewal of charter school agreement with Enterprise Charter School for a 5-year period effective July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2028. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion to approve item 8.1 is approved unanimously, 7-0. Thank you very much, Ms. Hayes. May I have a motion to approve item 8.2, requesting the approval of the 2023-2024 instructional materials adoption?
Motion for approval.
Move it for approval by Ms. Hine.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cook. Mr. Hendrick, can you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to call up Dr. Dan Evans, Associate Superintendent for Teaching and Learning, and Megan Fryer, Instructional Materials Coordinator. As you know, we had a public hearing on this and also presented at a board workshop for this approval item. Dr. Evans?
Thank you, Mr. Hendrick, board members and staff. We're pleased to bring forward to you once again our English Language Arts grade 3 through 5 instructional materials for your approval. As required by state statute, we've now completed the required public review period and our open public hearing. Online access was made available to the public from February 3rd through March 7th, which was beyond the required 20-day review period. The instructional materials were also posted on our website for public review. Per state statute, all school districts, as you know, must approve the adoption of the materials in each of our subject areas. And in this case, and in all cases, district committees were formed to review the materials that were submitted before you for adoption. Those committees included teachers, community members, instructional coaches, school administrators, and district staff. As I mentioned, the open public hearing was held last month, and with your approval and with the process now complete, we'd like to ask for your approval per our timeline, and we thank you for your consideration. Before I exit or take any questions, I want to once again recognize the great work by our elementary school team and Ms. Megan Fry and her staff. We thank you for your consideration today.
Thank you so very much. Is there any discussion from the board? Any questions? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor by Ms. Hine and a second by Ms. Cook to approve item 8.2, the approval of the 2023-2024 instructional materials adoption. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion to approve 8.2 has passed unanimously, 7-0. Thank you so much, Mr. Evans, and also Ms. Fry. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it.
We are going to, may I have a motion on the floor to approve item 8.3, the setting of a public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendment to policy 9210, parent organization. This is the first reading. We have a movement for approval by Ms. Edmond and a second by Ms. Cook. Mr. Hendrick, can you please introduce the item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Call up Leanna Eisen, Director of Strategic Planning and Policy, to share this policy change and also remind the board and the public we did bring this to a workshop as well.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, staff, and community. Today we're presenting the first reading of Policy 9210, Parent Organizations, which we discussed during the February school board workshop. The policy amendments were made in collaboration with the Pinellas County Council, PTA, and in alignment with the PCC PTA bylaws. We're proposing the following substantive amendments to the policy. First, specifying September 30th as the deadline for the PTAs to establish themselves and provide their beginning annual materials to the principal. Updating the required number of signatures on checks from 2 to 3, which is in alignment with the PCC PTA bylaws. Clarifying that the principal and a non-signatory member of the PTA must review and sign the bank statements and treasurer's reports. And last, adding notification to the Pinellas County Council PTA of any school PTA or PTSA revocation. We recommend setting the public hearing for May 9th and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing for these amendments to Policy 9210, Parent Organizations.
Thank you, Ms. Eisen. Is there any discussion from the board, this policy? Seeing none, we have a motion by Ms. Edmond and a second by Ms. Cook to approve item 8.3, the setting of the public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendment to policy 9210, parent organizations. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion to approve item 8.3 is passed unanimously, 7-0. Thank you very much, Ms. Eisen. Thank you. Our next item is 8.4, the request approval of the renaming of Clearwater Intermediate. Mr. Hendrick.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. We had the opportunity to name a school just a few months ago, and I said it's not every day we get to do that, and this may be our last one for quite some time. But we do have a process. But this morning, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Superintendent Stephanie Woodford to explain a little bit about the process and how we've gone out. But before I do that, I do want to thank the members that are here, and I know some had to leave, for a number of reasons. And one is that you organized yourself, you came together, you decided on a name, and you presented that to the board this morning. And I thank Joyce Russell, who I've gotten to know and meet at a couple of events lately. And thank you for your ways of organizing. And I do also want to give a special hello and thank you for coming to Mr. James Fiesel, one of my high school teachers who's here and a Pinellas High School graduate. We brought Largo High School's student rights responsibilities for you today because we knew your advocacy for the Packers for the last 50 years, in addition to your love for Pinellas High School. So, Mrs. Woodford, I'm going to pass it to you to talk a little bit about the process and engagement with the community.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did follow policy 7250, but a little bit more than that was the opportunity to go out to a couple alumni functions and to describe the feeling and the pride of the community in that school is hard to put into words. So I do want to recognize the group that's here. I feel like I've gotten to know some of them and some of the history. We did advertise for an extended period of time. We added an additional week to gather input, and that was from December 20th until January 10th. We received over 85 submissions. We also received multiple emails from throughout the state and the country of former graduates, and those have been added to the list or the emails provided to you. I think Ms. Russell provided a great history of the school and why it means so much. I did want to share, though, part of the reason for the renaming is that we're looking to reimagine the school and add high school back to the current grade level. So this year we added 9th grade. We were able to keep intermediate because intermediate covers through 9th grade. But once we add 10th grade next year, we'll no longer be able to call it Clearwater Intermediate. So that's the reason for the name change coming forward now. I really don't have anything else to add other than to thank you, and I do want to recognize Principal Green, who is here today. He has really involved the community through SAC and community events to gather input that way as well.
Thank you, Ms. Woodford. Is there any discussion before we begin the ballot process that may lead to a motion or a vote? Yeah. Ms. Long, you had your raised first. We'll come back.
I'm sorry. I feel very strong about the renaming of Clearwater Intermediate. I taught there when it was Discovery. When we changed it to Intermediate, I spent 25 years, all right? Even now, I'm still active. This is a wonderful community. This is a community that gathers together. The event that Miss Woodford was talking about, her and I were sitting together, and when they started singing the school anthem, I just burst into tears. I couldn't hold it back. I had goosebumps. I've never witnessed anything like, I don't even remember my high school song. So to see the love and how much they care and how much the community still wants to help the school is amazing. And I think we need to take strong consideration into the request that's been approved. I like the name. I think it's wonderful. I like the part about it being higher education, but still showing the pride that has been there for so long. And I thank all the community that worked so hard on this. I know that the Greenwood area, the CRA, I hope I said that right, received the grant, and they're working on uplifting Greenwood and making it a beautiful spot. I've been to all the meetings. I work with the committee, and I'm just so excited about the possibilities. This is something we need in North County. Clearwater Intermediate served its purpose, but it's not useful anymore. Well, that's not a good choice of words. It's just not producing the kind of student that we need. And being this is going to be a high school, it's going to help with vocational. This is going to help everyone. And I know Brian Green, you are an incredible administrator, perfect choice for the school. And as soon as my leg heals, I'm coming out and joining you, okay? I promise. But just a great place, and I'm going to get emotional, so I'm done.
Ms. Cook, did you?
Yeah, I'll be brief. At the workshop, we asked that the community let us know really what their thoughts were. I appreciate the way they have organized. I also appreciate the fact that you had one speaker that spoke for all of the people that stood. I really do. But I do think that once we ask, we need to listen. And I appreciate the way they have worked with us all along. And I think Pinellas High Innovation is an excellent name. I agree with you, Mrs. Long. But in addition to that, I think we have a couple more people from the Pinellas County family that I would like to introduce, and that would be Ed Baldwin and Arlington Nunn. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the years and years that all three of you have served Pinellas County. It's a pleasure to see you. But I support the name of Pinellas High Innovation.
Thank you very much. Ms. Peters.
Thank you. Wow, this is very inspiring and amazing. I just have one question, probably for Mr. Kopersky. Are we able to put the name High in the name?
Yes,
Okay.
you are.
That's what I want to know. Thank you.
Any other discussion by the board? Seeing none, we will now go through an individual ballot process. Mr. Kopersky, can you please review the directions and procedures for this process to the board and also for the public?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you have in front of you a school naming ballot form. We will follow the same process we did a couple of months ago when we named Mangrove Bay Middle School. And so I will ask you now, if there are no more comments, as you said, I will ask you now to fill in the name and to put your name on the signature line as well so that we know who is voting. I will then come around and collect those. Mr. Smith and I will confirm the count. If we have 4 or more, then I will let the chair know and ask for you to call for a motion and second and vote. If we do not have 4 with the exact same name, then we will determine the highest 2, including ties, and then we'll let you know what those are, and those will be your choices in the second round. But at this time, I will go around and collect them, and we'll let you know. Thank you. Madam Chair, is unanimous to name the school Pinellas High Innovation.
Thank you. We're going to make it official. May I have a motion to approve the name Pinellas High Innovation as the name of Clearwater Intermediate? I have a motion by Ms. Long and a second by Ms. Cook. All those in favor of naming the school Pinellas High Innovation, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. It passes unanimously, 7-0. Thank you all. Moving to new business, are there any items introduced by the superintendent, Mr. Hendrick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's hard to follow that up. Mr. Fiesel, Mr. Nunn, Mr. Baldwin, if you want to come back and work, just let us know, all right? Teaching certificates are still valid. Want to start this morning by thanking our board members who were able to go to Tallahassee last week as part of the Florida School Boards Association advocacy and advocating on behalf of public schools in Tallahassee for our students, our staff, our families, and our community. As a reminder to the public, our board has approved a legislative platform. You can find it on our website. We also have copies in our school board office that outline our priorities as a board and as a district. We encourage the public to support those priorities. You can find out that information on our website. You can also find the Pinellas Legislative Delegation on our website, as well as their contact to advocate for those priorities of the board and our district. Last night at midnight, or I guess this morning, we opened up our registration for Summer Bridge and our summer camps and a new process of registering all of those online and all in one place. And as of 10:51 this morning, we have several hundred that have already registered for Summer Bridge. So we had some early risers. But our Summer Bridge program, which is now, I believe, in its 10th year, will continue with in the month of June for 4 weeks at a variety of schools across our district to support summer learning. And then our summer camps, which have continued to expand, and we have many, many more this year as a result of some of those enrichment dollars coming from the state and federal government. Just a few I'll highlight: 3D art, our 3D printing art camp, artificial intelligence, automotive service technology, our Ignite Arts camp, sports medicine boot camp, a visual arts camps funded by the referendum, and literally dozens more. So we encourage families to go online, look for those camps. They're all free, funded by the school district, the state, and the referendum, and registration has begun for all of those camps as well as our Summer Bridge. Many of the camps are in the month of July, so you can go to Summer Bridge in June, and the camps in July. A few do run into June, so please check those out on our website, pcsb.org/summerbridge or /summer camps, and you'll see those scrolling on the front page of the website today. Just before spring break, we concluded our series of student leadership summits with our high school student leadership summit at USF St. Petersburg on Thursday, March 9th. It's a great opportunity to see our high school students, and we also had our annual meeting with the Student Rights and Responsibilities group at USF St. Petersburg, where the students from all of our high schools had an opportunity to quiz the school board members and get their opinions on all kinds of topics in the school. I want to thank our board for being there, as well as the students from the Student Rights and Responsibilities. Just before the break as well, our Arts for Complete Education, who I know is represented here today, hosted a breakfast honoring our principals in the annual Arts for Complete Education breakfast. We're thrilled to have that support from our arts community, and this year it was at the James Museum. It's always very impactful, especially our student performances, our great teacher speaker this year, to show that the sequential arts education and its importance for all students. We're so fortunate to have that advocacy here in Pinellas County. We thank them for their continued support. Also, just before the break, students from John Hopkins and Bay Point Middle Schools were able to attend the St. Petersburg Grand Prix and learn about STEM education in the automotive industry. I want to thank the City of St. Petersburg for inviting our students, Mayor Ken Welch, and thank them for the tours, what they learned while they were there, and the great fun that our students had in that event. Just recently, we held one of our many FAFSA events, the free application for federal student aid, as the state's FAFSA competition wraps up on March 31st. It's the annual FAFSA Challenge, and Pinellas County Schools, as well as our partners at Pinellas Technical College, St. Petersburg College, University of South Florida, and more, continue to advocate for students and families to complete the FAFSA form so they may qualify for $150 billion in college grants, work-study funds, federal student loans, as well as state-based aid. Right now, Pinellas County is in third place out of Florida's 10 largest districts in that challenge. We have just a few weeks more to go, and we'll be having another event coming up soon. I wanted to let our board know and the public know that that FAFSA form, the state legislator is currently considering that to be included as a graduation requirement. There have been a couple states across the United States that have made that a part of graduation, as it's a part of college and career readiness for you to move to that next level. And so we continue to ask for families to do it voluntarily, but it is a possibility that it could become part of the graduation requirements. Our schools and our students continue to be honored. Just recently, Marie Hill, a music and STEAM specialist at Jamerson Elementary, was named a Magnet Schools of America Regional Teacher of the Year, which is a great honor. She actually spoke at the Arts for Complete Education breakfast and did a tremendous job. She's been a music teacher at Jamerson for over 20 years. And James B. Sanderlin IB World School principal, Carrie Cormier, was named as the Regional Principal of the Year. These Magnet honors go with a possibility of national recognition as well, and so we congratulate them. We recently completed the Winter State Championships in athletics, and 8 of our young ladies and 14 boys represented Pinellas County Schools in the State Wrestling Championships in Kissimmee earlier this month. And we're proud to announce 2 state champions, Kenya Moore from the 235-pound weight class from Boca Ciega High School, and Brian Burbidja, who won the state championship in the 195-pound weight class, a 2-time state champion now from Countryside High School. Congratulations to all of those wrestlers for advancing to the state championships. And just recently, Junior Achievement honored some of our students and our schools in their Spirit of Achievement Awards, and I want to give a special congratulations to Dunedin High School and our 3DE business program through Junior Achievement there. They just recently won the National Case Study Contest for Home Depot. The Home Depot Challenge with 230 schools nationwide. Dunedin High School was the national champion. I congratulate the students who participated and won that. And it is, of course, awards season, and so the board and many of the district staff will be out honoring a number of students and volunteers and teachers over the next month. The Carwise Awards, Yes I Can Awards, Maria Edmonds, our Outstanding Volunteer Breakfast, the Pride Awards, and the Burrell Davis Awards, all coming up in the next month. We look forward to celebrating our students and community with those. And last but not least, as I've done each meeting, I want to honor one of our employees for emphasizing and exhibiting our core values. And this month, it's Jenna Hill, a teacher from Bay Vista Elementary School. She's been employed with Pinellas County Schools for 20 years, and she's an exceptional education teacher. And her colleagues sent about her in recognizing her and his core value. Jenna is one of the most caring and loving ESE teachers I've known and observed. She builds strong relationships with coworkers, students, and their families, and her positive energy and spirit of humor I observe on a daily basis. She makes each and every child feel special, capable, and successful. She has a great memory of her stories with her students, and she uses this information to share her positive relationships with students. Each child leaves their time with her knowing that they are special and truly loved. Jana is a true inspiration to me, and I'm proud to know and work with this amazing woman. So congratulations to Jana and all of our employees for what they do for our students each and every day.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrick. Do we have any items introduced by the school board attorney?
No report today, thank you.
That's good. Thank you. Any items introduced by the school board members? Ms. Peters?
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that several of us were in Tallahassee for legislative, it was for the Florida School Board, thank you. The Florida School Board Association hosted several workshops, and we were able to meet and discuss and talk to other people from other school districts throughout the state. And it's really neat to hear other ideas and be able to have those conversations, aside from being able to go up and speak to our legislators and actually experience all of that, which was great. But my biggest takeaway from the experience was what I knew to be true, but it was even more reinforced after talking to many people from other districts throughout our state. We really have the most amazing school board and district. We have differences of ideas, opinions, different types of backgrounds, but we as a board and as a district operate with the utmost respect and civility and kindness to each other. And for a district of this size, I just find it to be really amazing and humbling and just extraordinary that many people can work together in this district and see this level of just really respect for each other. And even though we have we might vote different ways and some conversations might get a little intense, but once that vote is complete, everybody takes a deep breath, starts over, and the level of respect and congeniality just continues. And I am just honored to be serving this district and with the people that hold these values true. So I just really wanted to point that out, and I think it is reflected in all of the meetings. Anybody who wants to see that for themselves, it really is quite a blessing. So, and the biggest benefit of that is that the children of this district benefit from that. So I just want to thank everybody within our district, my fellow board members, and I just value all of you very much, truly. Thank you.
Ms. Cook?
Very well said, and I echo your sentiments and opinions. In the process of talking with some of our legislators, it was mentioned that we didn't have the opportunity to get together as a whole and have that conversation that we have always had in the past. And so we asked what would be a good time for us to do it. They'll be starting committee meetings on early next year. They're back on the early session. So the end of September, or definitely in October, they'll be starting with their committee meetings and such. So a couple of the legislators, when we were talking, said the best time for us to do that would be the week after Labor Day. So I would like us to think about starting that process now. Oftentimes we're doing it late summer when we start looking at it and their calendars get full. So if we could have some conversation during leadership discussion and see if we can get a committee started and get a date on the calendar and start working toward that, I think it'll be important for us to have that conversation with them. For them to mention that they missed it, it resonated with me because we were talking about how we missed having the opportunity to get together. So I'd like to encourage us just to start much more quickly and do it earlier in the year.
Absolutely. Ms. Edmond?
Thank you. I also had the opportunity to attend the day in the legislature, and I would like to know if the board would like to send a letter of thanks to our delegation for their support of our platform.
Absolutely.
If I could also add, and taking the time out of their busy schedule. It was hectic up there this time, and taking the time out of the schedule to meet with us. We met with more of our legislators than many of the other districts were able to. And that's because they opened the doors and made it happen.
Absolutely. Ms. Edmond?
Sorry, we're kind of piggybacking.
I know, we're going back.
But this is actually, I've gone for 2 years, and this is the time where I think we've met with almost all of them collectively. So that's phenomenal. Thanks.
Absolutely. Ms. Stein?
I think too, when we look at that week after September, you know, I think in the past we've sort of had our platform fully baked and presenting it to them. And so this could be maybe even more workshop-y, where we have our ideas, we have topics that we know are important to discuss, but we can also receive feedback from them and their experience of what they think is possible and the best way that we can support them in moving these things forward. So maybe having it early also helps it be more of a team effort. Yeah.
Absolutely. Any other comments from the board? All right. Seeing none, thank you very much. Mrs. Woodford, would you please review any board requests?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only note I made was just on the discussion just now about moving possibly a workshop up to September, more a committee discussion, so that we're more timely instead of after the fact.
Absolutely. And also, I think it might be more of a request for Mrs. Hauk, but we want to make sure we're sending letters of thanks to the members who met with us while we were in Tallahassee. Yeah. Thank you very much. Is there any further business for the meeting? Any additions? Seeing none, before we perform our board meeting evaluation, we will adjourn the meeting and move to public participation. The meeting is now officially adjourned. We will now move to public comment on general business of the district. Please note that the views and comments of the public speakers are their own and not endorsed nor sponsored by the school board or district. We cannot ensure the accuracy of statements made, but will review concerns that are raised and take appropriate action, which may include clarifications or the referral of speakers to the proper staff member for assistance. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in conducting our meetings. This includes refraining from clapping or making audible noises during or after a speaker's comments. We appreciate you assisting us in maintaining a civil and constructive environment. Additionally, please note that although board members or Superintendent Hendrick may leave the dais briefly, there are speakers in our back room, and we will continue to be able to hear your comments throughout. Thank you. Mrs. Howard, could you please introduce our speakers?
Yes, Madam Chair, board members, and Mr. Hendrick. The first two speakers are Michelle French and Nancy Velarde.
I truly didn't anticipate being the first one. Good morning. I am here today to speak on expanding the substitute training for an hour to focus a little more on middle and high school experiences a substitute could anticipate. I'm not an expert. I sub for middle and high schools on occasion, but I am a public school advocate, and I definitely want to see middle schools in particular get a better reputation. Teens can definitely be emotional and moody in my experiences, but mood swings can quickly be disruptive as the student is slamming chairs and books or having vocal outbursts. But I don't know if that student is having a mood swing or has a 504 plan, because I'm only left paperwork on students with allergies or asthma. Another instance can be I'm missing 2 students upon return from a fire drill. I look at the seating chart to determine which students, but the school photos are 3 years old and no one looks the same. Plus, these are 27 students that I only just 20 minutes ago met for the first time. So narrowing down my selection has become even more challenging. Now it's the planning period, and I'm planning to regroup, but instead I will have a class because there was no substitute for the day. Here are 20 students that have no lesson, just a lot of energy because they've been dispersed throughout the day. These are the gentler but true instances that definitely make for entertaining stories. But perhaps substitutes have encountered these scenarios and felt a bit defeated and ill-prepared, and it is much easier to not return and go through that again. Better preparation for middle and high school experiences will increase confidence in new substitutes. It may not seem like much, but keep in mind, when you're a substitute, in theory, it is your first day on the job every day. Increased training leads to less turnover. Less turnover keeps the students in their own classrooms with their own lessons, continuing their education for that day. By expanding the substitute training for just an hour to focus on middle and high school, this can provide the substitute with confidence of what to anticipate. It's not to scare them, but to better prepare them for the rewarding challenges that teens can give us, and to be prepared to come back and do it all again the next day. Thank you.
Good morning. I understand that I'm preaching to the choir here, but we must never forget why we exist and what we are responsible to do here in our schools. It is our honor and privilege to be given the opportunity to teach our community's children, and we take that very seriously. We are not only responsible for educating our students, but also to keep them safe, imbue them with a strong sense of self, and open their world to the many possibilities and choices for their successful and fulfilling future. There are those who would restrict our ability to do just that by manipulating our instructional materials and removing that which may help to strengthen a child's pride in themselves and in their culture. For political gain, these individuals proclaim that they are seeking to protect children, through these acts, when in actuality they are causing serious and possibly permanent damage, perhaps even fatal harm. I may now be the president of PCTA, but I and all of my staff are educators, and that will always be true. My passion was teaching, and that has not changed when I was elected to this position. For 18 of my 22 years here, I was the sponsor at my school for the Gay Straight Alliance. And I know without a doubt that lives were saved because troubled teens had access to that club. The club was initiated at my school by a student who was deeply depressed and hurting herself because she had nowhere to turn. She was only one of many who suffered silently with disguising their true selves, racked with fear and uncertainty until they found solace in the company of others who shared their lives. Together we healed families, brought self-esteem to those who desperately craved it, and yes, literally saved lives. One student told me one morning that she had considered suicide the night before and had stopped because she didn't want to break my heart. I will never forget that moment of realizing how close we came to losing that lovely young soul. We all must never forget how important we are to the children in our classrooms, how everything we do and say can brighten an otherwise dark life. It is more than reading and writing and math. It is life. It is life. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Peggy Kern and Mark Clutho.
Good morning. I'm Peggy Kern. I'm a resident of Tarpon Springs. I attended the meeting last month where the students presented an excellent case on why the bluest eyes should not be banned. I expected this morning that the superintendent was going to give the status of the appeal on that ban today. That was also discussed at the workshop. I thought there was going to be some feedback given on the results of the workshop. I also wrote emails saying that if you needed a written request to appeal the decision on the book ban, I would be happy to provide it, but I didn't get a response to that email. I'm glad that the board has been very proactive in meeting with legislators on proposed legislations, because I think that some of the proposals are going to make your job much harder. The first proposal was to limit use of pronouns in the classrooms. That legislation, from what I read, addresses only employees of the school, not the students' use. I can't imagine how you could possibly enforce such a rule in the schools. And I would hope that the board is starting to discuss how this is going to be implemented. It seems that it's almost a done deal in the legislature. Next is the comments of one of our local Florida legislators who stated that the legislation would ban girls under age 12 from discussing their menstrual cycle. I can't imagine how this could possibly be enforced in school, especially in a gym program where girls have to be excused. As a former federal employee, I know that you can't prepare for all legislation before it's passed, but you have a good idea on what is going to be passed, and usually preparations start at that time. I don't know whether the county is starting these preparations or whether the county waits for the state, but I hope that the school boards, especially since we have met with the legislators, are discussing how these impossible legislations are going to be enforced. The other thing is the school voucher program is going to be a windfall for the middle and upper class neighbors. In my neighborhood, a family of 5 homeschools, a family with 5 children homeschools, and they could expect up to $40,000. 2 other parents are Canadian, and they have 4 children between them. One of them is only going to be living here for a year. They're also going to be eligible for the school voucher program. We have another family. Their daughter is a junior in high school, drives one of the 4 cars they own back and forth to schools. If you're from a family that has only no cars, no transportation, you're not going to be eligible for this school voucher program. And last but not least, I would like to say that I found it despicable that the governor would announce that he wants to replace two school board members in Pinellas County. As it's been said, it's my belief that most boards try to operate as a team and do right for what is due.
Thank you.
Mark Lutho, Largo. It's a shame that we have to talk linguistics at a school board meeting. As I said last meeting, you don't start with an and. It's like this. Betty Sue and Billy Bob went to the fair. That's how you use the word and. You don't start the sentence with an and. And we have adverbs. They're ly. Here's the headline. Bay loses 12% of its seagrass in 2 years. You know that your schools are contributing to this problem. Headline, start high schools later to let teens wake up. How many times has there been this headline? And then here's this column, I pledge allegiance to my conscience. Here's this young girl that got beat up by her teacher because she didn't pledge. It is commonly attributed to Francis Bellamy, a Baptist minister and Christian socialist who claimed to have written it in 1892. In the 1920s, it was amended to refer specifically to the flag of the United States of America. In any case, any recent immigrants got the wrong idea about which country they were heeding. It wasn't until 1954, at the height of the Red Scare, that President Dwight Eisenhower succumbed to pressure from McCarthyites in Congress to insert the words "under God" into the pledge. So you are pledging to the flag because of that great man McCarthy. Now, aren't you something? McCarthy. What a joke. What a joke. Yeah. You are something. All the while, the climate crisis gets worse by the day. And you make your stupid buildings.
Thank you. The next two speakers are Allie Kay and Heather Vernillo.
Good morning. My name is Allie Kay. I'm the lead behavior analyst for ESE. I'm speaking now as a citizen and advocate for students. I'm using this opportunity to expand upon important information that must be included in the conversation around autism acceptance and advocacy. According to the CDC, approximately 1 in 44 children has been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Studies show that while the prevalence of ASD does not differ across racial and ethnic groups, white children and those of higher socioeconomic status are likely to receive a diagnosis earlier than children belonging to a minority group. According to a study published in the American Journal of Public Health, Hispanic children are 65% less likely and Black children 19% less likely than white children to be diagnosed with autism. According to a study from the University of Pennsylvania, Black children were 5 times more likely to be misdiagnosed with a conduct disorder before being correctly diagnosed with autism. While there is some research to support that racial and ethnic disparities related to autism are improving, it's important to recognize that these disparities exist and the impact they have on our students. Ignoring these statistics can delay access to critical supports and resources and can result in disproportionate discipline. Additionally, studies suggest that autistic people are 2 to 3 times more likely to identify as LGBTQ+. Research tells us that students with autism are more likely to be bullied than their neurotypical peers. The same is true for LGBTQ+ students. According to a study conducted by the Trevor Project, LGBTQ+ youth who also had an autism diagnosis were 50% more likely to attempt suicide than their non-autistic peers. These statistics are necessary to include in conversations surrounding inclusion and support for all students, especially in today's climate, to prevent further marginalizing students who already face great adversities. Consider the impact of banning a book that represents a student who statistically experiences higher rates of bullying. These conversations need to occur not only to create supportive and inclusive school communities, but also to potentially save student lives. As a member of the LGBTQ+ community, I know how scary it can feel to be your authentic self, especially right now. While I can't speak to being LGBTQ+ and autistic, I would imagine these feelings may be amplified for a student who may already feel isolated due to their disability. We have a duty to ensure that all students feel included, safe, and celebrated for who they are. We must consider the impacts of the intersectionality between disability, race, gender identity, and sexual orientation on our students' access to services, resources, and overall well-being. Conversations around autism acceptance must be inclusive of all autistic students. Otherwise, this action is performative. Inviting and encouraging autistic individuals, specifically our students, to speak about their experiences is an important step toward autism acceptance. Listening to the voices of those with lived experience is essential in creating safe school communities where all students belong.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Heather Vernillo. I am a mid-level medical provider. I am board certified in family medicine, and I am board eligible in psychiatry. And I'm here today to talk to you about 504 and IEP protections. In Pinellas County, my signature is on countless 504 and IEP plans as an advocate for the child. And I'm here today to tell you that 504 and IEP protections are being violated every day in Pinellas County schools. Section 504 is part of a federal civil rights law, and this law specifically prohibits discrimination against students with disabilities, and it guarantees them a free, fair, and appropriate public education that is on par with their peers. Discrimination is defined in Section 504 as a failure of the district to provide students with disabilities the same opportunity to benefit from education programs, services, or activities as provided to their non-disabled peers. With the role that I serve in the community, I have countless parents who have approached me to speak on their behalf because they are afraid of retaliation by the school if they try to bring up the fact that their child is having their rights violated. They fear that the minimal services that they're being provided will be taken away as a retaliation, so I'm here today to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. I also speak as a parent of a child who has a disability, and I have been navigating this system with her for the past 10 years. I have patients that have sent multiple written requests for 504 eligibility meetings that have been ignored. We are already in the 4th marking period, and this is unacceptable. I have another parent whose son was bullied because he had a 504 plan, and they made him feel badly for needing accommodations. These situations mentioned are not unique, and that is why I'm here to tell you that we know that there are students who are being discriminated against. Students with learning disabilities, emotional and physical disabilities are absolutely entitled to free and fair public education, and I will continue to send the board written notification and to the state DOE every time a parent notifies me that their child's disability protections are being violated or services that they qualified for are not being rendered, especially when I know that you're getting Medicaid funding. And as always, thank you for your kindness and insight.
The next speaker is Nicole St. Ledger.
Good morning. My name is Nicole St. Ledger. During a recent chat with my youngest, a 12-year-old boy, not necessarily the biggest fan of school, I asked him what was important about school. He answered with great teachers who are able to teach. It's a pretty good answer. And I know that we have great teachers here. So it made me think about what was happening that would make him feel like he had to give that answer. Because our kids are smart. They're cognizant of what's happening around them. And as we've heard from amazing high schoolers at previous meetings, they are very passionate about what's happening to them and their educational opportunities. Because what is happening in this state and in this county is damaging our children and our schools. You, our school board, are supposed to be making sure our kids are receiving the best education in a safe environment. The first line of your mission statement, to provide the best opportunities for all students to succeed by adopting policies to ensure continual improvement of the highest student achievement, safe learning environment, and effective, efficient operations. Yet, every month we are here because something has happened. A book being pulled because of an incomplete formal complaint, a movie being removed from a history study unit after all the parents were notified and signed consent forms. These are materials that have been vetted by our experts, the teachers and your curriculum people, and they would not be being used if they had not been. So how are having books pulled from classes, libraries, and curriculum fulfilling your mission? How is pulling age-appropriate movies that celebrate an American hero from Black History Month fulfilling your mission? How are doing these things supporting our students and our teachers? Currently, instead of following your mission and policies, you're compromising the education received by these students and undercutting the teachers. By allowing the vocal minority of censorship advocates to restrict curriculum from all kids, not just their own, it is weakening the education that all of our students are receiving. If the vocal minority of censorship advocates really wanted to exert their parental control, because I have spoken about that before, they can homeschool their kids. I've done that. I looked at my public and private opportunities and kept my child home 1 year because that was the best choice. And I did control what she learned, and she learned a lot. And it's really hard for me listening to these people say that they should be controlling what everyone is learning. If they want to control their children's learning, they need to go ahead and do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have no other speakers.
Thank you all so much for attending today's meeting. Have a great rest of your day. At this time, the board will now perform its meeting evaluation.